Okay, we're going to move on to our third speaker. Ashley Perez is the Sustainability Project Manager in the Office of Sustainability and Resilience with the City of Orlando. Um, in this role, she advances energy efficiency, clean energy, and green building initiatives and oversees the Building Energy and Water Efficiency Strategy BEWES. I'm not sure if that's the right way that the way that you pronounce that acronym, Ashley, but you can clarify for us. But another new acronym for the group today. But and this is the city's benchmarking ordinance for more than 900 large commercial and multifamily buildings in Orlando. She holds degrees in communication studies and environmental policy and management from Florida International University. So happy to have you here, Ashley. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Ashley. Can you all see my screen? Perfect. Thank you. So thank you, Gretchen and the SIA team for inviting me to be here today. I think the two presentations that came before were amazing, and I think it's a perfect tie-in to what I'm going to talk about today. So we will be talking about our two energy initiatives, our BEWES benchmarking ordinance and our energy savings program. So we're going to review a little bit of history, the ghost of BEWES past, kind of like what we like to call it here in the office, as well as some of our collaborators and partners. And I'm also going to have a few movie references along the way, which hopefully you'll catch throughout the slides. Okay. So I wanted to start off with a few policy elements around the BEWES ordinance. So this is an ordinance that requires all City of Orlando building owners with properties over 50,000 square feet to report their energy usage to us on a yearly basis. We are also within the city required to benchmark our own properties, so buildings over 10K. All of our benchmarking is done through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. We currently have a transparency report that we post on our City of Orlando website at the end of every year. And buildings that participate and are passing are listed as participating, not participating are not in compliance. We do not have a fee associated with our ordinance, but we do have kind of these two buckets. So participating, not participating, and our transparency report. The last piece to our policy is our audit or retro commissioning requirement. So any building that receives an Energy Star score below a 50 would be required to either submit an energy audit to us, and they can work with our local utility, or they would have to pretty much go through the retro commissioning process and submit that documentation as well. So our audit trigger pretty much started 2020, and they would have 5 years from that date to submit their information. So this was a little bit on the policy. But jumping to kind of the ghost of BEWES past and some historical background, during the creation of the city's first community action plan in 2013, the Greenworks Task Force, which we had back in the day, recommended that the City of Orlando pursues a building policy that aligns with other cities that were practicing best practices for forward-thinking cities. So New York, Boston, Seattle. 1 year later, January 2014, the city of Orlando was actually selected as one of 10 cities to join the City Energy Project. So this was an initiative focused on developing policies to drive energy efficiency. So we were the first 10. I tried to find like a updated map. All the way to the left was the first 10. Now we have so many other buildings that have passed either a benchmarking ordinance or a BPS. So thinking back, I'm like, wow, 2014 was kind of like paving the way to where we are now. Um, this was pretty amazing to see. Some of our key partners and collaborators back in the day, so 2014, 2015, were USGBC, IMT, ASHRAE, just to name a few. So USGBC did host several workshops with our Greenworks team. And here we have a few pictures. So several workshops were hosted. So this was during the time of January 2014 through December 2016 when the ordinance was officially passed. So these stakeholder engagements and workshops brought together several stakeholders, including engineers, building owners, our utility company, and residents. I know we had a lot of feedback, a lot of poster boards, sticky notes, pictures that were taken on some of the feedback received. But all of this information we were able to collect, and we realized that several stakeholders had different areas of interest and some concerns. So this is some of the feedback that we received from some of our stakeholders regarding to the ordinance. So local engineers were interested in energy efficiency and audits, our university's operational savings, and our local community organizations' public health. Off the top of my head, so I've been within the office since 2023. One thing I can say, this reflects a lot based on what our benchmarking, pretty much the documentation that we receive. So for example, shout out to one of our colleges, Valencia College, one of the local colleges that we have here. This year, they actually submitted retro commissioning reports. One of the first buildings to submit retro commissioning reports, and this reflects to some of their feedback through local universities and colleges that they're interested in operational savings. So it was interesting to see some of their areas of interest during that kind of phase before the policy was implemented and that feedback received. So we did receive, this is some of the areas of interest, some of the positive. During our stakeholder engagement, we also received areas of concern that different stakeholders have. So I have a few listed here. A lot of people were worried about, one of the main things was mandatory benchmarking. We have different types of buildings. How are you going to compare that? Well, we're using Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which takes into consideration more than 80 types. How are we going to obtain all of this data? The City of Orlando works directly with their local, their municipal utility, OUC. We have had several meetings with them, even came up with an authorization form between the utility and our City of Orlando to make sure that the process continues to flow. We had concerns about the transparency report, that their scores will be displayed, but they weren't going to have a space to kind of explain why their numbers look like that. So we actually added a note section to our transparency report so that information can be displayed. So these are just a few of the areas of concern that we heard. So through this, kind of before the passing of the ordinance, we wanted to take in all of the feedback from our stakeholders, so engineers, building owners, and then make kind of our informed decisions based off of that feedback. So two of, I think, the most important things, most important parts of our policy, the score for 50 triggering the audit, we had that written as 75, but we received feedback that that was actually too stringent. So we actually lowered the score from 75 triggering the audit to 50, as well as taking into consideration, we started off with that 40 square footage and moved up to 50 based on the feedback that we received. So this is kind of our timeline for the ordinance itself. I won't go through year by year, but I'll highlight a few important notes. We started off, or we launched the ordinance in 2016, and we only had one part-time staff member that was hired in 2019 to actually run and manage this ordinance. So if you are thinking about passing a benchmarking ordinance, I recommend 100%, if you can, to have a full-time staff member there to manage and answer any questions that building owners may have. So 2023, this is when I was hired with the office, and we also launched a software known as the BEAM tool, Building Energy Analysis Manager, that helped us keep track of our compliance. Another thing to keep in mind here with that, before the software was launched, everything was run based off of Excel spreadsheets, which is crazy. So we've gone a long way. So I just wanted to share our timeline, and I will jump into where we are now. So where are we now? We do have I am the full-time employee now that manages the policy. We have 2 interns. We have constant building owner communication and partnerships. See, we did hire a Beam, which we are now able to send targeted weekly messaging, an online ticket system, which is amazing. And then these are some of the energy costs from 2019 through 2025. So we have seen a good amount of energy savings, energy costs from that baseline, which was 2019. Okay. So I did want to share next steps. So where are we now? We are looking at a BEWES glow up, and hopefully you all got the movie movie reference that I did here. So we are hoping to kind of revamp our BEWES program, collaborating with our GIS partnership, our GIS department. This is really, really big. And I think looking at collaborations within your own city and what you already have. So we're trying to work with our GIS department to see if we can create a dashboard that will show us, okay, if there was a building sold this year, either I'll get a notification or it will be flagged so that we can keep our building list for our BWES ordinance updated as much as we can. So those collaborations internally through your own city are super important because we didn't think about that until this year. So super, super excited to collaborate with our GIS department. We're also thinking about shifting our perspective when it comes to our compliance letters. So as of, I would say 2019 through last year, we've sent our compliance letters in plain City of Orlando white envelopes. This year, we are shifting to a one-page bright green Greenworks envelope for our compliance letters. So we are hoping that this will actually help building owners actually see the envelope and want to open it. So just taking a different approach to how we're doing and sending our letters. We are also looking at our Energy Champions Award ceremony. This is something that we're launching this year. This will actually reward participating in high-performing buildings. So thinking about how can we use that carrot to let building owners know, okay, thank you, rewarding participation. This is why reporting is important, and kind of sharing all of this information. We are also launching our scorecards through the Beam platform that we can share with each building owner to show them this is where your Energy Star score is. These are some improvements you can make through time. Let's see. Okay. So now we are going to kind of transition from our benchmarking ordinance to our energy savings program. There is a bit of tie-in, which I would like to share. So we passed our benchmarking ordinance in 2016. We also did a little bit of BPS outreach and stakeholder engagement with our residents within City of Orlando. We talked about key partnership and collaboration. kind of the ghost of BEWES past, and our office also shared this story, which I think is important to share based off of all the stories that I've heard today. When we started this outreach, we submitted a request for proposal for one community organization. Through this process, we were excited. They were approved to join. Once we had that kickoff call, they shared, we were like, okay, these are the neighborhoods and the areas that you'll be targeting. They paused us and they said, well, um, these are the areas that we're used to. We are used to our Latinx population. We know that the Paramore area is predominantly Black African American. Do you have another organization that will be helping you with that? We accept and we approve moving forward, but we think that you need a different organization to help you with that community. So this was a place of reflection for our team. So we were able to pivot and bring on two community organizations to help us move this project forward and move these conversations forward. So this is where we did some community engagement, door knocking, phone calls. We also had sessions in person where child's care was covered. So there was someone, if you did have a child, they were taken care of during the session. And we received a lot of feedback. A lot of our residents were worried about being excluded. This is where we learned a lot of our energy efficiency programs are geared towards homeowners and not renters. There was a lot of distrust in the government and worry that just a lot of the programs weren't shared as much as they should have. Um, so all of this information that we received, we brought it back to our office and we thought, okay, what have we learned along the way? One, City of Orlando has a goal to achieve 100% clean energy by 2050 citywide. How are we going to get there? We know our residents are going through these issues. This year, Mayor Buddy Dyer actually stated that for municipal buildings, he would get to that 100% clean energy before he leaves office in 2028. 62% of our residents are actually renters in the city of Orlando, and many struggle with their electric bills. So we took all of this feedback and we created our energy savings program. So for phase one, we collaborated with the Homeless Services Network, who provided a list of some of the most vulnerable population of residents, a lot of them in the verge of homelessness. And we provided 3 plug-in technologies, which included heat pump water heaters, window AC units, and portable solar. And not only did we provide these plug-in technologies, but we also provided our energy efficiency baskets that include small items that can help residents save. During this pilot, we also partnered with our local utility who provided historical, pretty much utility usage for the year prior. And then once we launched the program, we were able to track energy savings with the help of our utility. So these are some of our key partners, and honestly, we wouldn't have done it without them. Homeless Services Network provided that list of residents for outreach. OUC provided the historical data. We also worked with Poder Latinx, the Desire Foundation, and Grassroots Impact to get a list of residents that may benefit from this project. For phase one, here are some of the results. Several of our residents were able to save between $40 and $30 per month with the implementation of these plug-in technologies. I think one of the main pivotal points here, especially for Clear Lake, Shun is amazing. He did not know much about solar. Now he's super excited to share it with his friends, but we were able to help our residents save. For phase two, some of our key collaborators, so we did receive funding through 4Roots to provide residents with 50 additional window AC units. In the Paramore area, right down the street from where we're located now. If you walk down the street to the store, most of the single family homes have window AC units. So these are some of the quotes that we received from our residents. I think one story that continues to stick with me is a phone call I received from a mom that had 7 kids at home. Her central air was broken and she's been trying to save to get it fixed. We were able to provide a window AC unit for her and her family. This image that we have here on the right, we did a walkthrough to install a window AC unit. It was 82 degrees in one of our residents' home, extremely hot for her to be living in that condition, especially in the state of Florida. And then for phase three, wrapping up, we recently received funding. So we received a private and federal grant to help expand and help more residents. So these are some of the key collaborators. We also partnered, I think one of the main points, I know we've talked about community organizations, CBOs, but also looking within. We also have within the city of Orlando, Hispanic Office for Local Assistance that helps residents. We partnered with this office and they were able to bring a good amount of residents that we may not have been connected to if it were pretty much reaching out to them to get those residents on board and applying for the program as well. We have received 150 applications to date, and these are some of the residents that I continue to keep in mind because you can't forget their stories. Rodney and Virginia received portable solar. Virginia has a heart monitor. Rodney was using his oxygen machine. And just that community's trust. We do have one neighborhood that we call the Sisterhood of the Traveling Water Heaters because once one person applied for a water heater, we received a few calls for a few more. So just that government trust and continuing to help our residents save on their energy bills. So to wrap up, this is just a little bit on our funding and where we are now. So we started off with our CLEAP technical analysis, which pretty much this taught us that our induction cooktops, adding that to our program will also help residents save energy. We are now wrapping up our private funding and we'll be moving and pivoting towards our EECBG grant, where we'll be able to help so many more residents. So exciting. I'm excited to continue to work with our community organizations, look internally to the OLA office and other organizations that we can collaborate with to make sure that we get the residents who may benefit from our energy savings program. And this concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you sharing with us today. If anyone has any questions, put in the chat. I know we are a little close on time, so the SIA team will stay on. But I think one curiosity that came up was around building out your staff, because capacity has come up in a few parts. Like, how did the funding to build out your team happen? And with this growth, are these employees dedicated to city staff or outside consultants for engagement? Was one question. And then there's one more if we have time, but I'll let Gretchen tell me if we do or don't after.
Yes, that's a really, really good question. And again, I would say, so I joined the team in 2023. So some of the answer I'm about to give is probably the BEWES past, goes to BEWES past. When the ordinance was passed, we had our part-time employee as well as Brittany, who is now our assistant director. She was a part of the team to help launch the BEWES ordinance. So I think we did have a really good team that were putting together a plan to hire someone full-time to help manage the ordinance. So I guess recommendation on my end is if you're thinking about building a benchmarking ordinance to kind of write that in before it's even passed to make sure that you have that structure and the person and the software, because I think that's really important, and that you're fully equipped with everything that you need. But I do think that that was written into the plan, and they were like, okay, I think we definitely need a full-time person and a software um, to help us move this forward.
Awesome. I think we're close on time, right, Gretchen?
Yeah, do you want to
Okay.
do one more, and I'm just gonna share one last QR code at the very end, but uh
Okay.
if we can squeeze it out, because I want to make the most of Ashley's time. That was great information, Ashley.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then we were wondering, what did outreach look like? Like how did you engage the quantity and the breadth of stakeholders that you got to the table? That was the
For
last question.
or BEWES or energy savings.
I think for BEWES was what were more curious about, but both, just any insight on how that stakeholder engagement and outreach happened.
So for BWAS, I believe it was a lot of just invites to events, invites to community talks, and then bringing our building owners to the table, making sure that we have, um, specifically, for example, for energy savings, if we have residents coming in, they might have kids. So making sure we have a place for their kids to be while we have that discussion. So specifically for BWES, it would be a lot of invites, inviting, okay, who is important? Who do we want to be a part of this conversation? And just connecting with them. We want to hear your opinion. We want to know what your concerns are so that we can pinpoint and have answers for you based on your questions. So that would be BWES. For energy savings, we work directly with our community partners, Homeless Services Network, Poder Latinx, Flyers, our commissioners. I will say that as well. We did have a few commissioners. I know one of our commissioners posted on their Facebook account. So social media, flyers, word of mouth was really big as well.
All right, I think we're at time, so we need to cut this off. I'm uh, sorry to do that. And if you have further questions, I think Sammy shared some websites to be able to get in contact with all the speakers, actually. And again, we'll be sharing this recording and slide decks and things on the BRESE website, so you'll have access to those.